to bring you some business now, but business with a D-Day theme, of course. A historic moment, D-Day, which also led to the turning of economic tides and paved the way for today's financial institutions. Keris Garland is here in the studio to tell us more, Keris.
That's right, Stuart. Certainly in the sense that D-Day led to the end of World War II, and we could see great contrast before and after this period in terms of economic policies. For example, before the war, world leaders established high tariffs to prevent imports. They prevented colonial subjects from engaging in free trade and devalued their currencies in a bid to aid their domestic manufacturing base. Well, following World War II, delegates from the 44 allied nations gathered in Bretton Woods in New Hampshire to negotiate international financial order and economic cooperation. Following this, what's now known as the Bretton Woods Agreement had a number of outcomes. Well, first, it established two important organizations, the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, the latter which back then had a different name, with the goal of managing funds available for providing assistance to those countries devastated by the war. The attendees also agreed to a fixed currency peg against the US dollar, which was in turn pegged to the price of gold. But by 1973, the Bretton Woods system had collapsed. Countries were then free to choose any exchange arrangement for their currency, except pegging its value to the price of gold, Stuart.
And World War II, of course, also heralded in that close cooperation between North America and Europe.
So Atlanticism or transatlanticism manifested itself very strongly during this period, not just in terms of military cooperation, but economic too. This started with an act of goodwill from ordinary US citizens who donated foodstuffs for the people of France and Italy. We can see in these images on the screen that 1947 shipment, which came after what's known as the Friendship Train, traveled around the US to collect donations, which totaled an estimated $40 million in value. But that's not where American aid ended. The Marshall Plan was crucial in rehabilitating the economies of 16 Western and Southern European countries after the war. It included $13 billion in aid between 1948 and 1951. That's about $140 billion in today's money, and made up of 90% of grants and 10% loans. The countries involved saw a 15 to 25% rise in their GDPs over this period, and the plan contributed to the rapid renewal of the region's chemical engineering and steel industries. And this is still relevant today. The Bank of France recently said that there were lessons to be drawn from this when they were drawing up the European Recovery Plan after the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, a lot of time has passed, of course, almost 80 years ago. What does the Atlantic trade look like today?
Well, the US and the European Union are still each other's top trade partners. In 2022, 870 billion euros worth of goods were exchanged. That's twice as much as in 2012. We can see the United States accounts for 15.6% of the European Union's total trade, coming in at a slightly higher figure than that of trade with China. While on the right, we see the bloc accounts for 17% of American trade. Obviously, China, Canada and Mexico still are big partners there with the US, though particularly with the war in Ukraine, Europe has become the top purchaser of US crude oil, for example. So there's no doubt that the end of World War II really set in motion a series of events and decisions that contribute to the economic world as we know it today.
Wow, it is amazing, isn't it, to see how things are still being affected 80 years on. Keris, thank you very much. Keris Garland with our business